that CNN debate. It is the talk of the week, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be definitely the highest rated event on CNN in a very long, maybe ever. David Strom joins us now. He's an associate editor at HotAir, and he follows this all for a living too, which is why we're talking to him today. David, great to have you back with us, sir.
Always fun to be with you, Vince.
So I was just saying a moment ago, David, I am loving this Trump campaign strategy of targeting CNN right out the gates this week. You had Caroline Leavitt go on CNN this morning and point out that the moderators of this debate, Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, have routinely referred to Trump or compared him to Hitler. And so therefore he's going into a 3v1 situation. I like this strategy. Do you think it's a good one?
I do. I mean, look. I mean, the structural, the way that this debate is structured clearly benefits Biden. And what Donald Trump has to do here is jujitsu and going after CNN and going after the mainstream media as what they are. The enemies of the people, I think, is a very good strategy. So, and of course, many people believe this, and reminding them of it is just smart.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how these guys fare. Are you worried for the president, the current president's well-being, that he has to disappear for a week to Camp David just to go to debate camp to prepare for a 90-minute exchange?
Like we needed more evidence that Joe Biden is failing. Although I actually predict he'll be able to make it through that 90 minutes. They're going to have him so juiced up. And we're going to see what we've seen a lot of times, which is the first 45, 50 minutes, he's going to do all right and look energetic. And as the drugs wear off, he starts, fading. And that's what we're going to see. And I suspect their hope is that the pattern of most debates is going to continue. And that is that people tune in for a while and then they get bored. And so the second half of the debate will have a lot fewer people watching it.
Yes, yeah, that's entirely possible. I guess it'll depend on how they're doing. This idea of muting the microphones for the person who's not speaking. I don't see that working out all that well. Do you?
No, I mean I think that they're trying to stack the deck so much. That you get the Streisand effect where people start, focusing in on what you're trying to hide. And they're so clearly trying to hide the fact and get around the fact that Joe Biden, his brain is turning to mush. And, it went from being annoying in 2020 to being anger inducing to now actually you feel kind of sorry for the guy. It almost looks like elder abuse.
It is definitely pathetic. Whenever I'm tempted to even begin feeling sorry for him, I remind myself of what he's done to this country, and then I don't feel sorry anymore. I'm eager to see him go. But you're right though. You watch it and you're like, this is just totally pathetic. So much so that we just saw a report out of the New Yorker today that Barack Obama is desperate to salvage this thing. Obama thinks so highly of himself. He thought, who's the first person I should call to save all of this? Oh, myself. I'm going to call myself. So Obama called in himself for backup, according to the New York Magazine this week. And that he's been consulting with Biden's campaign manager. He's been advising on budget strategy. He's been dealing with all of the PR. He's been calling all of the Hollywood celebrities. He's been trying to orchestrate the fundraisers. There's a real panic going on if Obama thinks he needs to do this much work right now.
Well, most people don't know this, but there's a tradition that former presidents leave the Washington, D.C. area, and that's been going on for decades. And Barack Obama is the first president to have stuck around in Washington, D.C. long after he left office. And if you look at the Biden administration, it's filled with Obama alums, and we all know that it's not Joe Biden making most of these decisions. Obama is experiencing his third term, and he doesn't want it to end. And I think he would have been thrilled if Michelle ran, but there's she has no desire to be president of the United States, and I'd be shocked even if they hit the panic button at any point if she would agree to go back. And so this is Barack Obama's last opportunity to control the world, and he's panicked about it.
Yeah, he definitely is, evidenced by his behavior. More evidence of why he should be panicked, all that money that's coming in now for former President Trump, because, as the New York Times points out, he's been outpacing his successor by roughly $81 million in donations in just the last 2 months. They say that Trump has rode a surge of financial support after his felony conviction. So remember prior to these convictions that we're now seeing coming through from the left, the claim was that should a conviction come through, it's going to damage Trump so meaningfully that there's no way he could get elected president. The voters are going to abandon him, and the money's going to dry up. David Strom, the opposite is occurring.
Oh, absolutely. And, I think that it's a combination of growing enthusiasm for Trump. And, some of that is the conviction, as you saw, Andrew Cuomo admitted that if it weren't, if he weren't named Donald Trump, no one would have prosecuted him in New York. And Americans understand that. But the flip side is that the donors on the Democratic side are wondering, do I want to throw good money after bad? I mean, there's this real sense of depression on the Democrat side because Joe Biden is looking very much like a loser. Now, I don't actually think at this point the money matters nearly as much as the fact that this is a vote of confidence. I mean, both guys are going to have so much money available to them for this battle that it's more like scorekeeping than building up an actual war chest. I mean, Donald Trump is actually not spending this money yet. He's putting it in the bank, and he's going to pour it on in the last quarter. And Joe Biden has already spent a fair amount of money behind the scenes building up an infrastructure, because for Democrats, it all boils down to get out the vote. And so they poured a ton of money into infrastructure, and they need to keep that going. But they'll have probably a couple $100 million between now and then. And so it's all going to come down to enthusiasm and turnout. And I actually think it all boils down to enthusiasm and turnout in Pennsylvania. That is literally going to be the keystone state in this election cycle.
That is critical. We saw it go Biden's way in the last cycle, and lots of questions about the integrity of the vote in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
But I have also seen, because of the efforts of people like Scott Pressler, that Republican registrations have been setting a record pace, exceeding Democrats in Pennsylvania. And so that fight is a real one with a very real possibility of a Republican victory.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, Donald Trump is ahead right now, and you can see that the mood is very different. I mean, don't forget, Selena Zito really put her finger on Pennsylvania as sort of this cultural battleground state because she recognized that it really, it's the new Ohio. Whoever wins Pennsylvania is likely to win the presidential election because you've got that red-blue split. And it is certainly, for this election cycle, trending red. And you can even see that with, Fetterman, who, is sounding as much like a Republican as a Democrat these days.
Yeah, his story is remarkable. It really is. That's been a kind of a fun one to watch. But also, the Trump campaign is really doing a full court press here and forcing the Biden campaign to be all over the place. I mean, look at Virginia, which you probably wouldn't have normally thought to be a dead heat. That's where it is right now, according to all of the available polls. So much so that President Trump and his campaign have, first of all, Trump himself told this program that Virginia's in play and they're going to be expending resources here. You have the Virginia Republican Party saying, yeah, that's happening. And the evidence for that includes this very week, actually. Friday night, after the debate, Thursday, Friday, Trump will be here in Virginia on stage with Governor Glenn Youngkin campaigning in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So here you have states that weren't even in play before, now very much up for grabs.
Oh, yeah. Well, Minnesota, we just had a poll here. Now, Minnesota is sort of the great purple mirage, but Trump actually was up in the latest poll here from our ABC affiliate, KSTP. He was up by 1 in Minnesota, and he lost, I think, by 7 in 2020. So when you get that large a shift, to me, the biggest question is what's going on with the national polls,
right?
Because you see now Trump is way ahead of where he was. He was down 10 on this day in 2020. So, but still, it's kind of a surprise with Biden losing a lot of younger voters, a lot of black voters, even women voters, how he's even still in it. Although I think a lot of that has to do with shifts in blue states that have moved towards Trump. But, a place like New York, I mean, even if Trump gains 10 points, he's still going to lose the state. So some of it's a mirage, but still, I mean, if you're looking around, Joe Biden, the only 2 states in the battlegrounds where it looks like he has a shot are Wisconsin and Michigan. And I actually think Virginia is going to go for Trump. So, it's going to be really fascinating. I mean, imagine if Alexandria were part of D.C. still. I mean,
I've advocated for this. I've advocated retroceding Northern Virginia back into Northeast Virginia, really, back right into Washington, D.C. would help the country an immense amount.
Yes, and make sure that you don't make D.C. the 51st state. The founders were right.
They were totally right about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, D.C. is, 93% Democrat? It's just not representative of the country. It's all about the federal government. So,
and what have they done to deserve statehood? Give me list everything that they've done to deserve becoming a state. Why should we award them with that privilege?
No, I think we need to go Javier Milei on the federal government. Just take out that chainsaw. And, I mean, the Washington, D.C. is just a cesspool. Anyway,
honestly, what's fun, too, is nothing like being a Washington, D.C. station and saying all of this. I enjoy this immensely.
Yeah.
It really, really is quite a blast. Hey, lastly, on the issue of enthusiasm, because you are full of enthusiasm. That's one of the reasons we like you. This election, I can't help but notice it does seem like enthusiasm is entirely on Trump's side. I'm watching, like, even the Democrat convention for Virginia this past weekend. It was all being blown up by pro-Hamas protesters in the middle of it. It seems to me that all of the enthusiasm, to the extent that exists, is on Trump's side.
Yeah, well, I expect that this is going to be a summer of chaos, and chaos is never good for the party in power. And, of course, chaos almost always comes from the left. And they're angry. They're angry at, I mean, when you've got AOC, who is getting protested by the pro-Hamas people, you know that the Democrats are in trouble. So it's going to be, very hard for the Democrats to do what they did in 2020 in terms of turnout. We got the 80 million plus votes for Joe Biden, if you believe those numbers, and they're just not going to be able to duplicate that because the conditions are different. Some of the voting rules have gone back to normal, and the hatred for Trump is kind of trumped by the disgust with Joe Biden among just enough Democrats that I think, if you look at the betting odds are anywhere between 55 and 75% chance of Trump winning. So we can't take that for granted because the Democrats have a vote generating apparatus that cannot be beat and has not been duplicated by the Republicans. But I think the Republicans are going to have a turnout advantage. And remember, the election really turned on a few 100,000 votes in a few states.
Right. Not that many.
So
very close election, and we'll see what this one holds. David Strom, thank you very much from HotAir. Always nice to talk to you, sir.